Police and body-worn cameras. Are they always a good thing? I mean, could there ever be a situation where a body-worn camera would prevent a police officer from doing the right thing? I've made lots of videos in the past talking about police and body-worn cameras and also recording devices inside the police vehicles to record what's taking place in the vehicle, in the back seat, and also the front of the vehicle, so facing the front, which would capture everything taking place at a vehicle stop and such. And I've said that they were a pretty good thing, and I think most police officers across the board would agree that they're a good thing.
Hey, listen, do you guys record all your vehicle stops?
Yes, we do.
What's that right there?
It's a body-worn camera. All Toronto police officers are equipped with one.
Audio and visual records?
Yes.
Don't you have a camera inside the car too?
Yes.
What does that record?
That captures anything that can happen in front of the motor vehicle.
Conversations too?
Yes.
Thanks, officer.
You're welcome.
Be safe.
You too.
I think some of my exact words in the videos were, I've been in thousands of situations where a body-worn camera would have been a good thing, but I've never been in one situation where a body camera would have been a bad thing. Now, over the course of my career, I received some community complaints, okay? And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't even necessarily mean you did anything wrong. The more interactions you have with the public, just by out doing your job, giving tickets, some people will say you were rude to them. Whatever the case is, you're going to get some complaints. Now, one of these complaints in particular, it was a long process. I was interviewed, my partner was interviewed, some members of the community, the public, I should say, were interviewed. People looked for video cameras, footage of what took place. Ultimately, I was cleared. No wrongdoing at all. But if I had a body-worn camera, it would have been like that. This matter would have been cleared instantaneously without wasting all kinds of police officers' times doing an investigation and everything else, which has to get done. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, it was a false allegation and it would have been cleared like that. Whenever you talk about police and body-worn cameras, you should see the comments that come in. There's people out there who think that all the recordings should be made available to the public at any time. And there's even folks out there, they've commented that they should be able to tune in and watch live. They should watch the police officers live. They have that right. I don't agree with that at all. I completely disagree. And there's also people out there who think that the police officer should not have the ability to turn the body-worn camera off at all, and it should be recording their entire shift. I actually disagree with that as well. That's a whole other topic for a whole other video. I've covered it, and maybe I will again. The example I'm going to give of a police officer possibly getting into trouble for doing the right thing is actually something that takes place. It's very common, and it has to do with officer discretion. One of the most powerful tools an officer has, discretion. All right, so let me get into this. This is a scenario that I've dealt with in my career as well. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. There's not a lot of vehicles on the road. It's during the week. It's not very busy at all. And you're running cars. You're running plates. One of the plates comes back as the driver, or I should say the registered owner of the vehicle, having a suspended driver's license or being unlicensed. Okay? Nothing too suspicious about it. It just comes back as the registered owner of the vehicle, unlicensed. You activate your emergency equipment. You pull that vehicle over, vehicle pulls to the right. Now I'm going to say that everything is recorded. So in this vehicle stop, the officer is wearing a body-worn camera, and there's also a camera inside the vehicle recording everything else. So it's audio and video. There's a lot of different reasons why a driver's license might be suspended or the person might be unlicensed, okay? Not just for unpaid fines. You'd be surprised at how many people out there actually are driving around without valid driver's licenses because they just didn't pay the money to renew their license. It's not all that uncommon at all. Please check yours right now. It's really not all that uncommon. And I mean, more importantly, there's nothing really nefarious about it. It's not like you don't want to renew your driver's license. You just genuinely forgot. The mail doesn't always come to your house. You weren't properly notified. Yes, it's a responsibility of the driver or somebody who has a driver's license to always check these things. However, it happens. We're human beings. So the driver's pulled over for being unlicensed. You speak to the driver, and they're genuinely surprised. They're very pleasant to deal with, and they had no clue, and you believe them about this. It's not that they got a bunch of speeding tickets and they just decided not to pay. They genuinely didn't know they didn't have a driver's license. So you give them a notice of suspension. Okay, you don't give them a ticket, just a notice of suspension. You take the license that they have to go to the ministry and renew their license. So they pulled over. It's late at night. There's nobody on the road at all. They're solo. They don't have a passenger. What do you do with the car now? Well, they're on a roadway. You can't just leave the car there on the road. I mean, something has to be done. There's lots of parking lots around them. Years ago, what you could do, and what a lot of officers still would do, is, listen, sir, no problem. You don't have a driver's license right now. You didn't know this. We can't leave your car on the road. I can't let you drive home. So why don't you just pull into the parking lot there? Did that happen? Yeah, of course. And I'm sure it still does all the time. But you're not really supposed to let an unlicensed person drive because they're on the roadway. You're not supposed to let them drive even to go to the parking lot. Let's say that person takes off on you, or heaven forbid, they hit a drain or a pothole or get in an accident. And now it's recorded that you permitted an unlicensed person to get behind the wheel of the vehicle and drive, even if it's just to go to the parking lot or a couple blocks away. You're basically at fault. So could you move the vehicle to the parking lot? I mean, you as a police officer. Well, yeah, you could. But going back to some of the examples I gave, you hit a curb, you damage a person's rim, you hit a pothole, heaven forbid you get in an accident. Well, now you're on the hook, and the service isn't going to like that very much. This person, the driver, they could call somebody to get the vehicle, but they're not going to be there for an hour. You don't have an hour to wait for somebody to come get the vehicle, and you can't leave. You can't leave the vehicle in a live lane of traffic late at night with insufficient lighting. You're on the hook for anything that might take place again. So what's your option now? Order a tow truck. This poor driver who's just trying to get home from work is out, what, $100, $200 now? Listen, I know there's all kinds of scenarios within this scenario that I'm giving you. And perhaps this is low-hanging fruit, but I'm giving you this example because it's not uncommon at all. Listen, don't just take my word on this, okay? I asked one of the leading experts if there's any downside to police and body-worn cameras, and this was the answer. An officer might choose to give a warning instead of issuing a ticket or making an arrest for a minor infraction. With body-worn cameras, the officer's actions are recorded and reviewed, which might pressure them to follow strict procedures instead of using their own judgment. Thank you, ChatGPT. I would love to know your thoughts on this. Maybe you're in law enforcement and you've been in this situation, or maybe you've been on the other end. If you have something to add, please leave a comment. I've mentioned before, I read every single comment and I reply when it's appropriate to do so. So folks, thank you very much for watching. And until the next video, be safe out there, look after one another, and perhaps we will see you again.